Hey everybody, welcome back. Mike from Spectre Comics. Today I'm fulfilling a promise I made many moons ago when I said that when I finished all 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle drawing videos, I'd take all 4 images, combine them into one large composition, and then we digitally paint all 4 turtles, completing the image. What I didn't realize is that I posted the Raphael video, the final turtle video, almost 8 months ago. So it's been a long time coming and I didn't realize that much time had passed. So before we jump into this video, if you haven't seen the 4 turtle videos, go ahead and check them out. Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael. All links to all 4 of those videos are posted in the description below, so go ahead and check them out and then come back to this video and watch the final composition get complete. One other thing to talk about before we get started with the digital painting is that there's one thing that's bothered me about Donatello's right arm since I finished it, and I'm going to take this opportunity to correct it. So his right arm looked a little odd to me. The idea was that he would have his arm, his shoulder would be forward, his arm and bicep would be kind of back, with his forearm kind of at an angle, but it never really looked like that. It was a weird foreshortening. The anatomy didn't look correct. So I'm going to take the opportunity to fix it here. Now, being on a digital tablet, it's nice. I could just use the polygonal marquee, surround the arm, move it off to the side, and then try again. So the intention is for this image is we're going to just make the arm outstretched. I'm going to have his palm facing upwards as if he's getting ready to strike an oncoming Foot Clan attacker. So once we finish that, we're going to get into the digital painting of this drawing. Now, the turtles, one thing I wanted to do with this video is to make each of the turtles look distinct. Now, aside from their weapons, which are all different, and their different colored bandanas, there's not much different in each of the turtles. So one thing I wanted to do was give each of the turtles a distinct shade of green so they're not all exactly the same. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select 4 appropriate green shades, and then we're going to assign it to each turtle. Now, each turtle is going to be separated into a different layer. So each turtle, I'm going to color each turtle individually, and I'm going to group the layers together for each turtle so that I can, what that will allow me to do is I'll be able to work on one at a time individually without having to worry about other turtles being in front. So in the foreground, we have Raphael and Michelangelo, and in the background we have Donatello and Leonardo. And because the 2 turtles in front would block the turtles in the back, I want to be able to turn them all off individually, and not just the line layers, but also all of the color layers. And if I can make that easy by just grouping the color layers together, and just with one click I can turn the whole turtle off. So we're going to set the drawing up like that. So now that we've selected the distinct shades of green, I'm going to go ahead and fill in each turtle individually with that distinct shade of green. And as I said before, I'm going to be grouping all of the layers together. So all the Leonardo line and color layers will be together, all the Michelangelo line and color layers will be together, and so on. And what this will allow me to do is work on one turtle at a time. Now, aside from the colored bandana and the distinct green color, the rest of the turtles' color palette is pretty much the same from turtle to turtle. You've got the yellow chest plate, you've got the slightly darker yellow gap between the chest plate and the shell, you've got the shell, you've got the brown elbow pads and knee pads. So most, again, the color palette's not too crazy. There's not too many different colors that we have to worry about. But what I do want to do is keep consistency with those other items I talked about. So again, the green skin will all be distinct. The bandana color will be a distinct color, but the rest of the turtle will generally be the same. And as I do go ahead and set up layers in the different groupings for each turtle, what I want to do is to make it consistent, I'll use the eyedropper tool. So let's say I color in Donatello's chest plate. I can use the eyedropper tool, create a new layer on the Leonardo layer for the chest plate, and just use the paint bucket to kind of fill in the same color, and do that for all 4 turtles. That way there's a consistency from turtle to turtle. Now, once I complete the flats for each individual turtle, I'm going to go ahead and start adding in shadows and highlights. Again, working individually on each turtle one at a time. Now, the idea behind this composition is that the turtles are in a dark alley, it's nighttime, and maybe there's a single light pole casting light into a small area. The turtles are coming out of the shadows, getting ready to strike hard and fade away into the night. That being said, I'm going to focus heavily on the shadows and just a little bit of the highlights. Again, there's a single light source. Now in the case of this image, the light source is a street pole, street light on a street pole above them, maybe off to the right. So all of the light will be coming down from the upper right corner of the page. Again, I'll work on each turtle individually, adding in the shadows. Now each shadow layer will be a variant of the base color that it's applied to. So for instance, the green skin will have a shadow on it. The shadow will be a variant of the green, maybe towards the darker end of the spectrum, towards the black end of the spectrum, and we'll apply that on its own layer. Now to easily do this, I can select the base layer, use the magic wand tool to select all of the green, for instance for the skin, and then I can go to my shadow layer and apply the shadows. Now when I'm applying shadows, when I'm applying highlights, I like using the paintbrush with a medium spread, and I also like using the eraser tool paintbrush variant with a medium spread, because what I like to see is I like to see a transparent gradient going around curved surfaces as I'm applying the shadows. I don't like a harsh, distinct line. I like it just to kind of shade around curved surfaces as you would normally see if you were having a light cast a shadow. And similarly, the way we're going to apply the shadows, we're going to do the same thing with the highlights. The highlights will be a lighter variant, in other words, a light version of the base color, so towards the white end of the color spectrum in the color palette tool, which will also be on its own layer. So I will do the same thing with the highlights layers. The highlights will be a lighter variant of the base color, just like the shadows are a darker variant of the base color. Again, on its own layer, and we'll pick a color from the base color in the lighter end of the spectrum towards the white end of the spectrum in the color palette. Now, I'm also paying attention to where the light source is coming from to make sure that as I'm working on each turtle individually, it'll look like the same light is casting a shadow on each of them. So you're not going to see Raphael with shadows on this side and Donatello with shadows on this side. It would not make sense. So even though I'm working on each turtle individually, I am paying attention to where the light source is coming. Again, in this image, from the upper right of the image is where the light is coming from, casting a shadow and casting a light down on them. Now, in order to apply the shadows and the highlights, I do use the polygonal marquee tool a lot. I can isolate an area and work on it. Again, I'm using the paintbrush to apply the shadows, and I'm using the paintbrush variant of the eraser tool to, shave the shadows or adjust them, modify them, change them. So what I like about this is it gives a little bit of a gradient as the shadows being applied over our curved surfaces. The face, the skin, the shell, everything is slightly curved and there's no distinct lines. So you'll see a nice little gradient as the shadow is applied to the body. The marquee tool also allows me to isolate an area that I want to work on. So let's say I finished an area, but I've got another tight area just next to it, which I don't want to affect because it's complete over here. So I can use the polygonal marquee tool to isolate the area I want to work in. That way I don't end up erasing something that I've already completed. It's very helpful in a tight area where there's you're working on multiple things. So you're just basically masking the completed area so it doesn't get messed up when you apply or remove shadows and highlights. As I mentioned earlier, the idea was that this scene was taking place in a darkened city alley. So what I'm going to do to make a quick and easy background is I'm going to take a dark city alley picture from my home city, Chicago, and I'm going to add a blur filter and I'm going to stretch it to kind of fill in the composition. So the idea here is that the blur is put on the image because I'm not really highlighting the background of this image. I do want to imply the background, the cityscape, the city alley, but I don't want it to be the focus. I want the turtles that I drew to be the focus. Again, this is just a quick and easy way to do a background. And again, I don't want to draw too much attention to it, but I want to put them in a nice little setting. And the final thing I want to do to ground the turtles in the image is to add a shadow layer. Now the background city alley layer will be the lowest layer that we're working on. Just above that will be the shadow layer. That will be beneath all of the turtles. It'll ground them to the image. So we'll just apply a little shadows on the ground beneath each turtle on the layer lowest underneath them all. And then we'll just add a little bit of an opacity there. We'll add an opacity in order to see through the black shadow layer, and then that will just ground them to the image. Here's the final image of Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael painted digitally in a composition in a darkened city alley, getting ready to strike the Foot Clan as they attack. This image will be posted to my Instagram @SpaceMisAdventure, so go ahead and follow me there. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans that you know. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.